Welcome to this second course on Portuguese cinema. As you know, we started with Sombras Brancas. This was the first movie of this course, and we have the privilege to talk with the director of that movie, of Sombras Brancas, with Fernando Vendrell. So first of all, thank you, Fernando, for being here and for accepting talking with us about this amazing movie that you made. And the first question that I have for you has to do with the contact you have with the first contact you had with Cardoso Pires, with the universe of Cardoso Pires. You told me earlier that this movie was somehow extravagant. That was your adjective. And my question is also, why extravagant? And thank you once again.
Thank you for inviting me. My greetings to all the people that is doing this course and discussing the Portuguese films. For us is very important, and I'm really honored to be in this selected in my film Sombras Brancas, Clear Shadows, in your program. I had since youth, I had this contact with Cardoso Pires through his work, and I remember Alexandra Alpha, the release of this edition of this book as a mediatic standpoint. Somehow, José Cardoso Pires was a person that was very present in the society, in Portuguese society, after the 25th of April and before, during the fascist regime, in the people that were kind of outside the regime. He was like he had a definite status himself, and so I had all these notions of about these books and the craft of the Portuguese language, because he was like a very specific author of the Portuguese language. He crafted the language in a way that seems like very simple, very visual, but all the terms, all his language is very crafted and definitely embroidered, almost embroidered, in order to establish a very skillful and very playful and very beautiful language himself. Even if the ambience or the terms is not or the situations are not poetic or are mixed with popular language, he has a way to do it that is definitely a very high standard of literature in the 20th century. I read the book De Profundis Valsa Lenta. The Profundis Slow Waltz, we should say, when it was first released, because my father bought this book, and I was very struck with this situation, this medical situation. Myself, I'm a son of both my parents were medics, ophthalmologist and pediatrics, my mother. So this book was fairly discussed within the family because it portrays a situation of a human situation confronting with health and survival. So it was also a book that I had in mind. And when I said that it was extravagant, it was because the book in itself is very difficult to do an adaptation. For a film, it will be like a film that happens almost in a hospital, in a hospital, and inside the mind of the patient, that it was the author himself, José Cardoso Pires. So I had this urge. Someone told me that we could, a friend of mine, that we could adapt a book by José Cardoso Pires, because he was a well-known author, and I directed myself to this book, De Profundis Valsalenta. And my first gesture, it was like, with this book, we could have like something very spectacular in a film. But budget-wise, our industry is very limited, and we cannot do these fancy films where planes crash and these all spectacular things. But I found inside that in this book that the theme is fairly spectacular. That is like an extreme theme about an author who loses his mind, his personality, and strives for this to recoup and to gain himself the means to be himself a person and to be himself a writer. And the book is like an odyssey, like an extravagant personal odyssey, and which perhaps there are people there that don't know things about this book, is that this book was, he had a AVC, and he was struck, and he lost his personality and the power of language and express himself, the author himself. And when he recouped the brain functions, thankfully, he did recoup his ability to be himself again. One doctor that was friends of him just tell him, but you remember something, please write about, it was the neurologist João that was
portrayed in the movie as well, right?
Yes, and he wrote about his personal experience during this period, and he crafted this wonderful book that is a very unusual book, that is very discussed in terms of science between the neurologists, and also discussed in terms of literary purposes, because it's like himself was doomed in a evil trap, like a descent to hell, and he recoups himself, and he gains his personality, and he writes about what he passed. And so this was like the motion that I felt. It was this idea that it was out of manhood. It was really like how extraordinary and particular feat that the writer himself lived. So the film encompasses the book and also some biography of the author. And I had this idea to cross more than one book in himself, and there was a paraphernalia, or a set of short stories about weird things, difficult things, problems of language, aphasia, and difficulties of contact. And these short stories were himself a very interesting, a very interesting theme for the author himself. So, and myself I was like worried with the dramaturgy, and so in writing we did have a chance to talk to his family that lived this situation, and somehow the interview that we made with Edith, that was his wife, and like a person that guided him and helped him during the process, medical process. She didn't tell us much about the situation, and she starts talking how she met the José Cardoso Pires, how they fell in love, how they all these situations, very strange and mad situations, like they went to the about pleasure in the garden, and there was a strange situations, and she told us about this, and finally me and Rui Cardoso Martins, that is a well-known Portuguese writer, and friends of mine decided to change the dramaturgy in order to establish also this liaison between the author and his wife. And also we were kind of at the point we were working on the script writing, we had this situation that both our parents had Alzheimer, and they kind of lose memory. That was one of the problems in this situation, medical situation of José Cardoso Pires. So we kind of reflect how his personality was made, how the personality of José Cardoso Pires was constructed through his life. And with this love story that we found, very beautiful and very poetic love story between Edith and José, we had like a pillar, a huge pillar to construct a film, and it's quite it's almost like a reverse story of Dante, La Divina Commedia. It's a love story. It's Edith that goes, tries to reach him in the other side, in order to bring him back to life.
Okay. I would like to ask you. You spoke of the process of losing one's mind and one's personality and memory, and I was thinking also of the cinematic memory that your movie also contains. I mean, the beginning of this movie recalls very vividly the beginning of Balada da Praia dos Cães by Fonseca e Costa. And you also used actors that become very known characters of Cardoso Pires in cinema, like Rui Morrison, of course. He was in Delphine by Fernando Lopes, and Rogério Samora. There's a big homage to this actor that unfortunately we lost. So, yes.
No, at first I didn't have like the main character, and there's always like this situation where we need an actor that will look alike or be similar to the person we are portraying. But we did tests to several actors, and I already worked before with Rui Morrison, and he made a wonderful cast session, and we found in love with voice and with his mood and his ability to wanting to do the film. And to tell you sincerely, I never thought of like a copycat or pinpoint the situation of Delphine, but truly in Delphine is like the person is like the his character in Delphine is the person is like portraying himself the author of the novel. So himself is in Delphine is a personification of José Cardoso Pires somehow, because in the novel I don't remember the name of this person, but this character is like the storyteller and is not José Cardoso Pires himself, but is almost telling the story like José Cardoso Pires will be in a situation. So this was during the process it becomes more strongly this. Regarding Rogério Samora, this was a situation because I wanted to portray a real moment in time that of the Bohemia of the 80s, and a well-known actor and director, Artur Semedo. That was a character, almost a comic character with his gloves, and it was a persona. So I went to the Rogério Samora because he knew and he worked with Artur Semedo, and I wanted him to impersonate the situation for like a small role, a cameo, and give this founding memory of Rui Semedo in the very picaresque, almost erotic situation in a bar, in a Portuguese bar.
But Palma Bravo was in the bar as well, so there's a big connection.
This was very shocking. This was very shocking for Rogério Samora. Rogério Samora, when it came to the set, he yelled at me and he said, "I'm Palma Bravo. Who's this imposter? This is unbelievable. You want me to be in a set with a person, with an actor doing Palma Bravo, but I am Palma Bravo." And I said, "Oh, Rogério, please calm down, because you were Palma Bravo in the 60s when the story takes part. Now we are in the 80s, and Palma Bravo is a different guy. He's like a bourgeois person. Is like a character that kind of lost is after the storytelling. So it's not needed to be you." So it was like a very funny moment, in fact. Unfortunately, Rogério didn't watch the film because he died suddenly 1 month or 2 months after the shooting. I can't remember. Perhaps longer, because we were in COVID and we took longer in the post-production because of all the effects of COVID. We shot during the COVID. That was also very difficult moment, and I believe that the situation that we shot in the hospitals and everything, and the cares that we had because of COVID, let some deep emotion in the film.
Okay. I would like to ask you something that I noticed, and this has to do with the background, with the scenery, that we always find your characters moving around with squares in the background, or at least lines that are crossed somehow. I found that to be like a leitmotiv. You have Edith when she is working in the hospital in the very beginning of the movie. she has these squares, blue and white, in the background, and then you have tiles of the Palácio de Marquês Fronteira, also squared, and you have you have sideways squares as well in I don't know, in sweaters and all over the place. You have this image, and my question is, why so? Why this obsessive visual rhyme of squares and crossed lines? Why do you think that is? Is there a reason? It was by chance?
Definitely, it wasn't made on purpose that it should be like that, but it was created in a order that could establish like that. What I think is the film is like happening inside the mind of the author, and these are like these moments are like short circuits between and confusion inside his mind. So there's likely this crossroads that mix the past, the present, and the real persons and characters that became like in a way to definitely portray the mentally what was happening inside the author's mind, and somehow I feel that this situation is likely that he himself was in a crossroad, and and there were kind of gateways that we could go to back to the past, to left or right, and go in front. But I choose mostly the sets with the references to his book Lisboa Livre de Bordo.
Okay.
Remember? So Palácio Fronteira is quite referred over there, and I choose Palácio Fronteira because of the Gaia, or the liaison with culture and happiness, and also the joie de vivre, and I thought that will be meaningful for this moment where we are kind of portraying the launch of the book, that it was not written at the moment. So it was like the memory of the future, bringing this memory of future. So I was in love with this situation. We worked with these graphic patterns in a very strange way, because, for instance, when there's this billiard scene where they play pool, and the small tiles in the back scene, they are kind of doing this. It's almost not square or losanges.
And the sweater
and
as
also
well.
The
sweater
shirt of the shirt of the actor that is playing the mestizo black player. He has the same pattern.
The same, yes. I remember that.
It's not on purpose, but became like the situation. My first films, they were very controlled. I wanted to gain control of the films. I wanted to almost direct the movements of the actors and control very much. And in these last films, I openly get surprised with the way I was filming. Of course, we choose the sets, we choose the actors, we choose everything inside. But with these films, Clear Shadows, Sombras Brancas, I had the impression that the film was being made in front of me, himself. And this was very moving. I was like open to receive the film. And I was surprised with the film.
It's almost like the character, like José Cardoso Pires himself, because he's completely lost, and then he begins making sense of things again. So it's quite similar, I think.
I was on this situation on the during COVID where our future was like a huge question mark. I didn't have mostly very strong ideas about the future or the future of society. And we shot this in the second wave of COVID. So, for instance, we shot the cafe with the mirrors in a hotel in Sintra. And when we were launching there, all the workers were very moved, and we noticed that it was going to be closed, and people will go to our houses, and there will be no work, and it was very, very strong. This situation, and it was really difficult. We shot it with masks, and we were very careful because Rui Morrison was almost 70 something years old, and we felt that we needed to protect him, and so there was this like sacrificial situation almost in the shooting himself, the actors posing without masks, all of us with masks. So it was not a very comfortable film to shoot. We decided to shoot because it was we wanted to do some work. There was arts people and workers, technicians were suffering, and we wanted to do this film, and we decided to do the film. But I was very open to things that could happen in the story and in the sets. So I kind of directed the film like a maestro. All the components are there, and the movements and the crafts and the slightly situations, they close themselves in a beautiful moment. It was somehow what I think about the process of shooting the film. And it was quite surprising for me in the end to watch the film, because he gained in itself a power, distinctive power of strengths. Of course, it's not an easy film. It's perhaps it became more difficult to release it after the pandemic here in Portugal. But when people watch the film carefully, it quite moves a lot the people, and also the way Rui Morrison did this work is very difficult.
And Natalia Luisa also, yes, they were amazing.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult to be an actor and ask him to do. You don't have mind. You don't have thoughts. You don't know how to talk. You don't. It's like crucifying actor, and it was like that. It was like that. Of course, I had this idea of several stories and several atmospheres, and my first idea was to start as Balada da Praia dos Cães, where in the beginning they discovered the body. The dogs discovered the body that was buried in the sands.
Yes.
And my idea was to transform this. The body was himself the author, and so this look-alike situation of the beginning of most movies I kind of like this situation because I was friends with José Fonseca Costa. I was assistant director to him, so I
It was
cherished
also an
this.
homage to him.
I
It was
cherished this
also,
film work also, so it was also an homage to this.
yes.
And in fact, the film is my film is original. I think it's original, but as you stated that there's these liaisons also with the universe of these other films from
Other directors.
other adaptations. But I found it very moving, this situation, because it's like we are trapped in the author's mind, and everything that we see is somehow allegedly provoked by the connaissance and the knowledge we had of the books, of his language and literature, and also somehow from the adaptations that he saw in life, almost every film of these films. Balada da Praia dos Cães, I know that he saw, but Delphine, I think he was already dead.
Yes. When we were, most of the students in this course were in a book club we had last month in March, and we were reading A Balada da Praia dos Cães, precisely that novel, because it's the only novel that is translated into English, and so we needed the translation in order to keep on reading, or to read this book within 1 month. So we read A Balada da Praia dos Cães, and the critics, the literary critics, usually speak of this, especially this novel, but all the novels of Cardoso Pires, as very cinematic from a certain point of view. Do you think Cardoso Pires is more cinematic than, for instance, Virgílio Ferreira, another actor that you also adapt into movies? Which one of them was the hardest to make a movie out of?
Most of the projects were kind of different. Just to tell you, the story is that I was already working on the adaptation of Sombras Brancas, Clear Shadows, De Profundis, and I was crafting I was writing at the moment. I had the idea. It was not finished, and by chance I had a situation. I'm a producer director, and I had like a director that should direct apparition, and all of a sudden, on the veil of a contest, like a grant contest, he told me that he was not able to proceed with the film. So I put myself as a director to this new film, Aparição, de Virgílio Ferreira. And I knew the script, and I had like in very short term period of 15 days to construct a proposal for doing this film. And I was able to direct this film after like 7 or 8 years without filming, without having grants for filming. So this was really very. And what I learned about this process of adaptation, or my process of adaptation, is that it's not enough to tell, to make an adaptation of a novel or a book. There's this need to tell something more about the way you see this work. It's not a critical position, but it's like with this story we can tell something more within ourselves. We must find something to tell about this, and these two films for me, they are linked because they are somehow proceeding the way literary authors use reality as a point of departure of literature writing or literary writing, and both of them are somehow biographic because Aparição is the author himself. Alberto is a young poet or young writer, wants to be writer that goes to Évora, and Virgílio Ferreira was also a young author that went to Évora wanted to be a writer. So both of them were biographical works for me, and both of them use some reality references transposed to literature. And my way of seeing these interests that I have now, I wanted to do a film about José Saramago and the Levantados do Chão. I don't know the English name. And it's also how he went to Alentejo and he discovered a way to found his language of his personal language and to become a writer that became the first Nobel Award for Portuguese literature. And this is the project that I'm trying to develop. So I see more these films as an homage to this creativity and the power of literature itself. But since I'm doing these films and I don't use mostly voiceover, there's no much of the book inside. In Aparição, there are the dialogues. Also most of the dialogues in Clear Shadows they came from several books, several short stories, interviews, and situations where people said that the characters said these things this way. So, in fact, all the stories that are in Clear Shadows were told to me. There's no much creativity. There's no much fantasy because the stories that Edith told to me, the boat that went away, everything was there. So we just crafted the structure for the film. So
okay, so there's a documentary side to this fiction, right? It's a fiction about real things.
Yes. Also, there's transcriptions of the dialogues,
like in Aparição,
is interviews of José Cardoso Pires. So it's a very mixed media, and also the Aparição in Évora, Virgílio Ferreira book, is the characters himself asking, if you put me in your novel, how would I be? You will turn me to a good person or a bad person. So there's this situation of reality and creativity is very interesting for me. Myself, I'm really believing that the way we see the world is a creative way. Even common people, very sensitive, they have some sensitivity through humor, through the way they move the language to tell how they see the world. And these three films that I want to do about this creative process is somehow like telling the audience, the spectator, that they are open to the world and they can be creative themselves. And for my type of film, I kind of believe that mostly of the emotions that we felt in the film theater are our own emotions to what we watch, and so we complete mostly the space of imagination of the films, and what I'm giving to them is like these images and this language, this storytelling that opens a space for them to emotionally react to the film.
Mhm. Okay. I only have one last question because this is already too long. I'm very thankful for all your time. The one last question would be this one. I mean, an important one. Would be the use of actors to play more than one role. That's something you did in this movie. Um, s- uh, they are characters that are, for instance, Soraya Chaves is the doctor, but she's also
The
this
lady in the
lady
film theater.
that goes to the film theater, and they are a couple of actors like that. Do you want to talk me to do you want do you want to say a little bit
No, I
about
found
this
it
choice?
I found it a very tricky situation because it, it, it could damage the way the audience or the spectator could watch the film. But in fact, into this day, I didn't add any uh, objection about this use of these characters. That is
Yes.
slightly confusing for me.
Well,
I,
for me, it recalled me the Wizard of Oz. You know, when Dorothy goes to the Oz land, and then she finds people that were a part of her life, but as a fantasy character. You know, so for me it
yes.
was like that. It was in the memory. He was finding people. He was trying to reconstruct memory using the people that were around him. For me, it was very real. It was a very smart choice
I
from my
had
point of
Yes, but it's true what you said. Is I had this situation that when reality, past and present, it's all confusing. We could manage this situation in this way, but also I had like this idea that we very small characters and giving the actors so small work, and I wanted to do more with the actors. And we also, I can argue that we have like limitations for working with these actors during the COVID. So everyone should be tested twice and everything like that. And it was easier to work as almost like a theater company where extras extras are repeated. Some of the technicians are also working as actors in the film, and I found it natural to create this universe, and for me was also for sure this idea that the fantasy, that we can go on the fantasy. For instance, I have like this meta situation on the film that I didn't want to disrupt the storytelling of the film, but sometimes I go slightly to the possibility of disruption. For instance, for me, it's very disruptive when I made a apparição that in the end of the film, the actor that did the young Alberto comes as a Virgílio Ferreira, And in his hands, we have the original version, the first version of the book, Aparição, in the end. And I feel, until this day, I feel very uncomfortable with the situation, because it's like it's film, but it's shockingly real sometimes, and almost is a representation of the situation. It gives me a twisted feeling, but I found it very, very interesting, this situation in films, because it's like the moment where sometimes in moments in life where you feel the
Goosebumps.
Goosebumps inside the film. And the film is not a closed media, it's transforming. It's we see today silent movies, and they touch us very deep, and I believe that the films will stay on, and these impressions are extraordinary impressions on film. Sometimes we are people think that they are telling a very normal story, but for a film, there's no natural or normal story. It's emotions, it's dreams, it's paranoia that we are confronting ourselves as humans and projecting ourselves as humans that is inside the film. So it's, for me, as other hearts, film is a heart that questions the human boundaries. And in this story that I was testing, that the author himself was testing human boundaries, just skillfully attached both feelings.
Okay. Fernando, thank you so much for your time. I really thank you for this. It was a wonderful talk, and I'm sure that all of our students will be enlightened by your words and by this wonderful movie. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I say, whenever you need if you need further information, please contact me. And have a good course, and I think that will be very interesting to know these films all together. It's a very interesting proposition. I'm very honored. Thank you very much.